So I'd never been in a life season until right now, which I kind of forced myself into the life season to be able to have its actual time to go back and to invest in young people and coach the sport that I love, be around the sport, but be around the youth again. So yeah, this past season, I decided to coach basketball. I never wanted to be like the wealthy assistant coach who pops in one day a week, and just donates a bunch of money to the program or whatever. I wanted to be a legitimate, in part from donating my resources to the school and to the program. The most important resource that I wanted to be able to give was my time and my story, my life experience, to be able to challenge these kids to see that, the sky's the limit for what they can accomplish, much like them. I came from very humble beginnings. As I shared, I came from a family that there's nobody who you look at and say, oh, that person's a successful individual. I grew up until I was 12 years old. My parents paid $25,000 for the house that I grew up in. And then we moved into $100,000 house, and I thought, like, whoa, like we
made it.
Yeah, exactly. A little subdivision.
We have a garage now instead of a carport. This is epic.
So, my point of reference in all of it is very similar to where a lot of these kids that I'm coaching are. That they a lot of them come from even, more scarce resources than I have.
Well, I'm watching their faces, man, as you're putting them on your G4 jet for the first time. They're flying private, and it is changing their lives because they're so proud. They got their uniforms on. Like, it's like they're
Spans
taking
their mind,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine how much faster I would have been where I wanted to go if I had a mentor like that in my life when I was younger, to show me that, like, holy crap, you could come from the same type of situation that I came from, and now your mind is being expanded to the idea of, like, flying on a private jet. My first private jet that I flew on, I was probably 35 years old. It's probably 6-7 years ago, something like that. And it wasn't a G4, a heavy jet. It was a little, turbo twin jet, That's it. And that was cool. That was still super cool to be able to not go through security and go out on the tarmac and get on. But I mean, very different experience for, a 16-year-old to be getting on a heavy luxury aircraft with, its own flight attendant and pilots and catering and all that stuff. It was pretty wild. But more than anything, I spoke to them before we got on the plane for the first time, and I kind of gave them this 10-minute speech about, what is your why? Why are you doing this? And for me, it was really about I knew that if I became successful, I'd be able to be a lot more generous in my life.
You are one of the most generous, by far. Like, just so everybody listening understands how generous Joel is. That's your new nickname, by the way, Generous Joel. I get a call like on a Wednesday, like random. What are you doing next week? I said, I don't know. He said, all right, I'm sending a jet to get you. I said, what? And he goes, we're going to fly all of us to Cabo. I rented a big boy house on the cliff with private chefs. I'm sending the jet. I'm like blown away. What friend calls you and says, I'm sending the jet? Generous Joel. That's your